meeting to order. Those in attendance, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome all of our friends and neighbors and colleagues in joining us in this regularly scheduled November 20th, 2023 City Council meeting. As you come in tonight, which would be to my right, to everyone else's left, there's a set of double doors. You'll walk through those set of double doors. To your right, there will be a table. On that table, there's a sign-in sheet. If you're a guest with us tonight, please sign in. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilperson Morrissey.
Here.
Palladino.
Here.
Pratt. Here. Sharp.
Here.
Soha.
Present.
Stuchel.
Here.
Veer.
Here.
Wolfram.
Here.
Mayor Stockford.
Here.
All present, Mayor.
Thank you, Katie. We'll move into approval of agenda. City manager or any members of council have any changes they'd like to see made to the agenda tonight? Councilman Beer?
There was a question I had on the light up parade. It had 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. It should be 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the light up. It would be the use agreement G. And then I just had a question on E, cemetery minutes of November 1st, about the elimination of snails and parrots from the signage. And it must have been a part of the old signage. I didn't quite understand.
Katie?
I can kind of speak to that.
Sure.
So as the no animal signs, it was presented with all these specific animals on there, and they had snails and parrots on it. So they asked to remove those from the signs that they were getting, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
The finance committee minutes had that me have written up the minutes, but I wasn't there. So it must be Bruce Sharp.
No, it must have been Dave.
Okay, somebody,
You were in spirit, that's all.
yeah, so anyway, we should probably make a correction that those minutes were not prepared by me.
Okay. So any other questions or suggestions? Do we need an amendment to change that use agreement, or can that be something that can be clerically handled?
That could be clear. So just make that correction.
Okay, all right. Also the minutes, Gary's issue with minutes. Is that satisfactory, guys?
Yep.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda then.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Beer, seconded by Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Beer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move on to public comment on agenda items only. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to 1 to the podium, and please remember that if you're going to comment during this particular public comment period, that whatever you're speaking on needs to have a tie to something that's on the agenda, a direct tie to something that's present on the agenda. The podium is now open. Seeing no public comment, we'll close the podium and we'll move into the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we've got approval of bills, city and BPU claims of November 2nd, payroll of November 9th, city council minutes of November 6th, finance minutes of November 6th, library minutes of October 12th, cemetery minutes of November 1st, light up parade, traffic control order, right-of-way use agreement, light up parade use agreement, Board of Public Utilities lead service line replacement contract extension, 2023 winter tax warrant, financial reports for quarter ending 9/30/23, city investment reports also dated 9/20/23, supplemental special assessment report, and public services committee minutes of October 23rd. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss regarding the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Soha. May I please have a roll call vote, City Clerk?
Councilmember Palladino.
Yes.
Pratt.
Yes.
Sharp.
Yes.
Soha.
Yes.
Stuchel.
Yes.
Veer.
Yes.
Wolfram.
Yes.
Mayor Stockford.
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey.
Yes.
All approved.
Thank you, Katie. Alrighty, please give me one moment to catch up in my agenda. This is quite a long document. Before we move into communications petitions. Wow. There we go. All right, we'll move into communications petitions. Item A is Christmas at the Poorhouse. If you guys haven't ever attended this, or the audience hasn't ever attended this, I encourage you to. It's lovely. They often have somebody there singing carols. It's Saturday, December 2nd, 2023 from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. It says park in the field north of the poorhouse. And then also Sunday, December 3rd from 1 to 4 p.m. And then item B in communications is a Comcast letter. Any discussion on either of the articles in communications petitions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into, we've got no public hearings, we've got no old business, new business. Item A, city audit report. As I understand it, we've got a representative from the audit company, Yao and Yao, is that how you say that?
Yo and yo.
Yo and Yo?
Yo.
Yo. Alrighty, take it away.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you for having me here. My name is Mike Wolka with Yo and Yo CPAs. I'm a senior manager, and this is our first year as the city's auditors. Will somebody be? Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to jump right in. I have a brief presentation where we cover some of the financial highlights, really talk about the opinion, which is what you're most interested in out of an audit, and then I'll wrap up if there's any questions. But so we'll start with what an audit opinion is, and what an audit is really. It is not a fraud examination. So that's really a key thing I like to communicate with every board I present to, is that, you know, when we come in, we are not specifically looking for fraud. If it turns up, we will report it, but most often when fraud is discovered, that is through a whistleblower or somebody internally. There are separate fraud examinations when those sorts of things happen, but our audit is purely to provide an opinion about whether the financial statement numbers are materially correct. So with that, management has some responsibilities that go with that, and that would be really maintaining a set of internal controls such that the financial statement numbers would be accurate and correct, and that if there was an error, it would be corrected timely. Our responsibility then is to perform risk assessment and develop auditing procedures to validate whether those numbers are materially correct. And again, material is a key term there, because as you know, there are thousands of transactions that happen here at the city throughout the course of the year, and we cannot look at every single transaction. So we use a test basis in order to look at transactions and validate those numbers. And so with that, our opinion is an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which means these numbers can be relied upon by outside parties. I do like to always say that's like getting an A on your report card if you're getting a report card back in the school district. The next slide is a pie chart that really shows the distribution of revenues of the general fund. It's probably no surprise to most of you that most of the city's general fund money comes from property taxes and payments in lieu of taxes. And then the next largest chunk there is the state shared revenue, which is the payments received from the state of Michigan. This year you'll see that green slice is a pretty significant portion, but that's really a one-time event. That was the sale of the transfer station, so I wouldn't expect that every single year you'd see such significant amount of the sale of capital assets. But going forward, and pretty much every single year, you will see taxes will make up the majority of the revenues, following up with state shared revenue. On the following slide is a very similar chart as it relates to expenditures of the current year. Once again, very typical for cities to spend most of their money, or I should say about half of their money on public safety to keep the police and fire departments staffed, and primarily those costs would be payroll and benefits, followed up with general government and public works. So the general government would represent the treasurer's department, the clerk's department, city manager, all of the general type stuff that keeps the city running. On the next slide, we really put the numbers together for the past 10-year trend of what the revenues and expenses look like. And you'll see for just about every year, revenues and expenses more or less offset each other until about 2020, where the revenues started to exceed the expenditures in each given year. Now, most of that was related to the past couple of years. There were sales of capital assets, such as this past year, the transfer station. One thing I want to point out before we get too much farther into this is recall these numbers are as of June 30, 2023. So any numbers you've been reported lately, they're probably much different than what I'm reporting on now. On the following slide, we've presented some of the major funds and what their fund balance as a percentage of expenditures is compared to what the policy requires. You can see for each of these funds displayed, the policy requirement is a 15%, and you can see that the fund balance reserves are totally blowing that out of the water. 93% for the general fund, a very healthy general fund, 100% major streets, and 1,600% in the municipal street fund. So that's always really good to see that the fund balance policies, when they are in place, that they are being followed and adhered to. On the next slide is just a brief snapshot of the statements of net position for the major enterprise funds. There's only a couple of things that I really want to point out here in the line labeled total non-current assets. What that really means is primarily the capital assets of these funds, mostly infrastructure. Two pieces I want to point out in the non-current liabilities are that net pension liability, $3.1 million in the electric fund, $400,000 in the sewer fund, and $400,000 in the water fund. That represents the accumulated liability that is still unfunded towards the pension payments for the defined benefit plan. Right below that is the long-term debt, primarily taken out in order to fund the infrastructure that we talked about in the non-current assets. Lastly, at the bottom, you see very healthy net positions, $26 million in the electric fund, just about $10 million in the sewer fund, and $7 million in the water fund. On the following page, we do have one finding that we consider a material weakness related to an audit adjustment. This adjustment was to restate beginning fund balance in the general fund because over the past several years it's been practice of the city to record the state shared revenue as it comes in, as it's received, so on the cash basis, when really the financial statements are reported on a modified accrual basis. And so we should be making an accrual at the end of the year, which we've done. So we've increased the beginning fund balance in the general fund by $190,000, and we've made that accrual of approximately $175,000 at the end of the year. So it's a receivable from the state, applicable to June 30, 2023. I'm happy to report that there are no significant deficiencies, and we did conduct the alternative compliance examination in lieu of a single audit regarding the ARPA funds, and we have concluded that the city has materially complied with the requirements of the ARPA funds.
I have one question.
Absolutely.
You had just said that the financial statement should be on an accrual basis, or what part of it is all of the?
So depending on the fund type, there's different bases of accounting. With the general fund, it's a modified accrual basis. So what that would mean is you still record payables and receivables, but only for short-term items. You wouldn't record long-term type assets and liabilities. So for example, in the general fund, you don't record debt and you don't record capital assets, but you still would record receivables. Lastly, I'd just like to show a quick funding status of the pension plan. It is just about 70% funded, which is actually down from the prior year of about 82%, purely related to the investment standing, the market value of investments as of December 31, 2022. So the pension plan has a measurement date of December, whereas the city's year end is June 30. So next year when we look at this again, it'll be as of December 31, 2023. Hopefully the market has recovered by then and is in a better position. For context, over the past several years, the asset balances strictly set aside for this pension plan have ranged anywhere from $17 to $23 million. This year, you can see in the blue, the assets set aside were about $20 million, with the total pension liability there being nearly $29 million. But still, well-funded comparatively. The state of Michigan right now is looking for governments that are participating in defined benefit plans to be at least a 60% funding level. With that, I'll open it up to any questions and thank everybody that was involved with the audit, particularly Karen and Tina. They were tremendously helpful.
Thank you, sir. What was your name again?
Mike.
Michael, that's what I thought. Any questions for Mike? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Any discussion at the council table? Good audit. Nice to see those revenues exceeding the expenditures, so. Alrighty, we'll move on then. We don't need to accept the audit, correct?
You may, you don't need to. Whatever your past practice has been.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the report. Did you have something to add?
No, I'm here for the next item. I'm
Okay.
anticipating.
Good, we like that. All right, we'll move on in the packet to new business item B, budget amendments for the fiscal year 2024 budget.
Yes.
Take it
So
away,
this is-
madam.
I'm Karen Lancaster. I'm your finance director. I'd like to thank Michael and his firm. They did a really nice job for us this year. It was their first year, and that's always a lot to go through all of a new client's information and kind of parse out all the specific details that are unique to our city. The one item that they had to correct was, we talked about, the previous auditors didn't want to correct it, so it was nice to kind of have new auditors that wanted to do it the right way. So we appreciate that. It had been the Hillsdale's practice for the last 20 years to record it the old way, and we like to kind of do it the right way. So we're happy to have that done and over with, and we won't see that again. So for this item, the amended budget, so these would be the first quarter budget amendments, and they're primarily related to projects that have been bid out, that came in a little bit over, or we needed to adjust funding for. So you'll see major and local streets. We have a few amendments related to a sidewalk project. We have a new tree restitution fund that we need to actually establish a budget for. And we have a little bit of money to spend there. And then we have for ARPA funds and the capital improvement fund with the Willow Oak Stormwater Project. It's funded by both of those funds. And so we need a budget amendment for those. And then finally, we are carrying forward the water and sewer CDBG project funding because we weren't able to get that in last year's budget. So nothing on the operating side, really just on the capital item side. If there are any questions?
Thank you, Karen. Any questions for Karen? Councilman Soha.
The grants for the sewer and water fund, that's gonna come into this.
Yeah, so we're on a reimbursement basis with those grants. So as soon as we start spending money, we ask for that to be reimbursed, and then they match up together. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thank you, Rob. Any more questions for Karen? Thank you, Karen. You're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Any discussion? Entertain a motion to make the amended budget resolution.
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt to do these budget amendments for fiscal year 2024. Can I have a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilperson Pratt,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Soba,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Veer,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey,
Yes.
and Palladino.
Yes.
9-0 approved, resolution 3578.
Thank you, Katie. All right, we'll move into new business item C, setting annual service fee for workforce housing. Sam?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the city has received an application for payment in lieu of taxes or pilot arrangement from Allen Edwin Residential Builders. And this is for workforce housing located at 440 and 450 Hidden Meadows Drive in the city of Hillsdale. The developer is seeking a 10% pilot for a 15-year term to support workforce housing throughout 100% of the residential units of this development. Annual pilot payments based on 100% occupancy and their projected monthly rent listed on the application are currently estimated at $17,928, with the city share comprising $6,197. So this project, we've talked about it a few times before when I was up here, and the developers were as well. So this is for a just over 3 acre parcel located in the Three Meadows subdivision, directly adjacent to the medical facility there. And what they're proposing are 3 two-family attached dwellings or duplexes for a total of 6 units along the west side of Hidden Meadows Drive. The property is zoned for multifamily, and all the dwelling units will meet our minimum setback requirements and separation requirements for that zoning type. Each dwelling that they've proposed will be 2 stories with approximately 1,640 square feet, and have 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and an attached garage and associated driveway. All of these units will be connected to the city's electric, water, and sewer systems that already exist along the west side of Hidden Meadows Drive. And the developers also propose adding some screening and landscaping along the north side, just for a kind of nice visual barrier with the transition between the duplexes to the single-family homes that already exist in Phase 1 and the remaining land. So the developer already went to the Planning Commission to get site approval back on August 16th for this project. At the time, they had proposed 4 duplexes for 8 total units. However, that specific 3 acre parcel, there are some challenges associated with building there related to the geography of the site, such as the slope and some of the soil conditions. They did some testing during their due diligence period and found some poor soils, so they ended up modifying the project by reducing it 1 duplex or 2 units. So currently, again, it would be for 3 duplexes, 6 units total, and they are eager and ready to begin construction next spring and summer for a completion date December 2024. So what we're recommending to council tonight is the approval of that 10% pilot payment, providing Allen Edwin Homes with that workforce housing pilot arrangement for 15 years.
Thank you, Sam. Any questions for Sam? Councilman Palladino.
You said that these are 3 bedrooms. I thought I saw 4 on the application.
Let me take a look here. Four bedroom. I apologize. 4 bedrooms. You're correct.
You said that the projected income for the city based on the 10% pilot is related to the $24.90 a month. So that's what they're expecting to charge for the 4 bedroom is $24.90.
So up to that amount. They're restricted from going beyond that from the type of legislation that enables this pilot. So they have to keep it under that amount. So, but if rents were that amount for all of the units, that's how you arrive at the calculation for the pilot.
Right. So it's calculated based on
Correct.
on the 2,500. Okay.
And that's per
Per unit.
unit.
So the 2,500 So that would be per unit. The total pilot payment that the city would get for all of the units would be $6,197 a month, which if they were all taxed individually as separate units, it's estimated that each unit would bring in about $2,500 in taxes. So you're looking at a difference of, you know, you have it would be $15,348 if they're all taxed separately. You're getting $6,000, so that's how you arrive at the roughly $9,151 a year difference in what we would be getting in pilot payments versus collecting taxes.
Okay.
What was that number again, 6,001?
So the pilot payment, and this is an estimate based on their projected rents, is $6,197. That would be strictly the city of Hillsdale's share of that pilot.
You got another question, Mr. Mayor, for me,
Okay,
please?
sure.
With that, currently, we're collecting how much on that vacant lot?
$0 currently. It's owned by the EDC.
Correct. So where you're getting nothing, and here we're gonna get something. That's just something food for thought.
Thank you, Councilman Sharp. Councilman Stuchel?
Yeah, do you know if they have a waiting list for tenants?
I don't know if they have a waiting list or not yet for these.
Okay.
Councilman Soha?
Sam, thanks for the summary. My question is, have we passed similar resolutions of this nature for construction projects? And if so, were they for the same duration? Or what was the duration?
So this specific pilot program is the new one that was passed by the state legislature specific to this workforce housing. The city has utilized pilot arrangements for other housing projects. So Center City Residences, they have a pilot agreement, as well as Greenwood Village Apartments, Beacon Hill. So the city has a number of pilot agreements. Those just take advantage of different legislation. But it's the same concept, and the 10% pilot is pretty standard.
Keep going.
Thank you. So was the legislation for this particular pilot program stipulates the 15 years? Is that
Correct. It's capped at 15 years.
It's capped.
So after 15 years is up, they cannot come back and request to extend it.
And is that in concordance with previous programs, or is it shorter or longer? Or
It's
do you know?
a good question. I'm not sure the exact difference. Dave might have an idea on that.
I think Center City was like 25 years, wasn't it? But Kim, Dave, you know any of you guys?
The other pilots that we have are for the duration of their MISHDA funding up to 50 years. 50, 50.
Thank you, Kim. Any more questions? Councilman Paladino.
Could you restate the difference in your calculation between the ad valorem tax rate and the 10% pilot payment on a monthly or yearly basis?
You want to take that? Sure.
So the annual difference, for the total project, we're looking at $14,268 between what we're estimating the pilot to pay and what it would pay for a similar project that was done on an ad valorem basis. The question you need to ask yourself is, would a developer be willing to do it on an ad valorem tax rate?
So about 30% of the ad valorem tax rate for 15 years.
Roughly, yeah.
And another thing too that's worth mentioning, and this isn't something that's calculated, as part of our tax impact, but again, these are new customers for the city's utility as well. So you do have them connected to electric, water, and sewer. So although those funds are separate, there is going to be income to the utility on a monthly basis for all those units as well. So there's some additional value.
Did you have more, Councilman Paladino?
I think I asked this when we passed the ordinance, but do we have an estimate of what they're planning to charge in reality? Because we're talking about 30% of the ad valorem tax rate at a 10% pilot. But I'm assuming they're not even going to be able to charge $2,000 on these, so we're probably looking more about 20% of the ad valorem tax rate.
For a 4-bedroom in this area, that's not, the 2,400 is
notice that it varies too. In fact, we can pull up, you know, the developer's website. We had some images, you know, that we can show you of other homes that they've built across the state. And so you'll notice that the rate does vary depending on the configuration and the layout, you know, whether it's 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, or something like this. So it looks like on there it can range anywhere from $1,500, $1,600 up to about the $2,500.
Councilman Beard.
When did the city go into that 3 Meadows? How long ago?
Over 20 years, right?
Yeah.
It's
The
been-
city got involved, I think, in 2000, the project actually started around 96.
So about 23 years, and so because it's owned by the EDC,
That's correct.
okay, and currently the city's receiving nothing for 20-something years,
Yes.
pretty much, because they tried their original plan was to build single-family homes throughout.
So this particular property, the original plan was for that to be commercial. They were envisioning another medical building or something along those lines, similar to what's across the street, but there simply wasn't
Demand.
the demand for it.
And just to add to that too, so we do have the single family homes that are in phase 1 now currently, and in fact, there's only 1 lot remaining that the EDC had in that. Like Kim said, this is strictly for that 3-acre parcel adjacent to the medical building. The remainder of the land that the EDC owns, in fact, this developer, Alan Edwin, they have an exclusive option on that land, and their goal is to build single-family homes. Some as rentals. I think they left the door open perhaps to selling some of those outright, but the EDC has wanted to get that developed for a long time. And so single-family homes on the roughly 21 acres on the back half of the lot, that's still the plan, and that's still what the EDC wants to do.
It is a little frustrating that they're duplexes, because when the conversation did start, it was all about single-family homes. I mean, albeit they were supposed to be rentals still, but. Councilman Sharp?
Thank you. We don't forget, we have Stoll down on Bacon Street, they're putting in condominiums, basically, duplexes.
The condos.
Condos, they're still. It's been over 20 years since that's been in the works and still continues to be in the works. We have a housing shortage in Hillsdale, very bad. We are to the point now where restaurants can't stay open because they can't find people to work there because they can't live here or can't find a place to live. We have the factories out there that need people here. We've got growth in the other 3 counties around us going like crazy. We need to offer something for people to live in. And is it $1,500 sound large? Well, back 20 years ago, yes, but now it's a reality. The rents are gone ridiculous how high they are, and they're going to continue to climb. Here we have somebody's offering something to do something for us. We have collected right now nothing on that property, and here we are talking about collecting, my figure's right, $74,000 off of this. Something, it's better something coming in than nothing coming in. And so I'm definitely in support of this because somebody's going to try and do something out there finally. After 20 years and where we've been sitting. Those people that live out there, the first one that built the house out there didn't get the tax break that the other ones did. They get a tax break for, I think it's 15 years, but it goes down. Is that correct, Kim?
It's 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
And after like 7 years, then it starts going up and up to the full amount. So they did get a tax break. We've got NEC offering to, over on Northwest Street for 58 and 60. When those places get done and fixed up, that gentleman that owns that property is gonna benefit from that. So we're offering tax breaks. We need to keep growing in Hillsdale. We're at 8,200 people and we've been that way for what, 10, 20 years? We're not growing. We need to grow. You go over to Coldwater, they're growing. We're just staying right where we're at. We need to grow a little bit, but we need to keep up with our housing. And I believe this is a start in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Any more discussion? Councilman Palladino?
Did the EDC attempt to negotiate either the annual shelter rent pilot payment rate or the length of the contract?
So, City Council has the authority over the pilot side of things. The EDC cannot enter into a pilot
pilot agreement. It's something that has to be approved by council. Obviously, EDC is supportive of this project. They entered into, purchase agreement with the developer, knowing that this is what was proposed, and so they would like to see something done. But ultimately, it is up to council to approve. And like we discussed, that 10% pilot is a standard ask when we look at these types of projects.
I simply noticed in reading the statute, and I think actually the city ordinance, that it says any amount that shall not exceed the ad valorem property tax rate, so we could probably do basically a 30% pilot up to, as long as we don't exceed the ad valorem rate, and also any number of years. Does that correlate with your understanding of the statute and the ordinance?
It's, if that's something the city wanted to explore, I guess, I would caution, because that would throw, I think, everything up into question. The developer would have to, run the numbers, come back, see if a project like that is worth it, if, we were to change things around at this time. But I think council has the authority.
Councilman Beer.
Just, Josh, just to, like, the 10% is not 10% of the tax rate. That's right.
It correlates to
Right.
about 30%.
Or something like that. Oh, yeah, but the pilot is, of course, in lieu of taxes, but it's not a 10% of what they would be paying in taxes.
Correct.
Right, yeah. And from the numbers that you gave me, it was pretty much more like 50% roughly, maybe a smidge more on the pilot portion of it, what they would have been normally paying.
Josh is correct, it's about 30%.
About 30%, okay. But again, you have somebody willing to do some work and build some houses and create some taxes. And yeah.
Councilman Stuchel.
Do they have a start date of construction, and would they like to have this project completed?
Yeah, so they included some of that information in their application, which is in the packet that you guys have, but spring or summer of this coming year, 2024, is when they'd like to break ground for that.
Okay. Maybe this question isn't appropriate to you guys. You probably can't answer it, and I should probably know this already because I should be paying more attention to what EDC does. But have they ever considered just selling that land out there, just putting a fair market value price on it and just trying to get rid of it and sell it to whoever will buy it?
Yes, so it's been listed for years, and in fact, earlier in January of this year, they did sell off an 18-acre piece to a
Okay,
a
I was
local
gonna say, I know it's
individual
been
who's
listed
interested in
per
developing.
lot, but I'm just talking about the
Yeah.
whole shebang.
They did sell off a chunk of it, but the rest of it has been listed for a very long time.
Per lot,
Well,
or the entirety of it?
even the entirety of the remaining land, the EDC listed through Christy Clemens, and when it came back, there were two offers. There was the one interested buyer who wanted the 18 acres along the north part, and the EDC did sell that.
Yeah.
It was a cash offer, but as for this specific lot and then the remaining 21, this was the only offer for that specifically.
Okay.
And they have had, in the last few years, they had a couple offers on this piece, but all of those sales fell through.
Okay. Any more, Dave?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. I just want to make clear that this particular parcel has always been looked at for duplexes. It was the back 21 acres that was single family. In fact, this was supposed to be 12 duplexes, but they started, when they did their due diligence and tested the soils around the site, they found that there was some areas that were unstable, and they had to back it down from 12 ultimately, or, let's see, 4 to 6 duplexes to 3, so they had to cut it in half because of the soil to the west and to the south. The rest of them, as Sam indicated, are supposed to be single family, and that isn't, we're talking about another program that the state actually is, will allow for the residents to be sold. But the pilot is also on the table, so we're kind of looking at that once we get the first phase done. But I think it's important also to mention that, when you look at housing, and I know we've talked about this before, Michigan says there's over 160,000 housing unit shortage in the state, leading to higher prices for everyone, for rentals and for single family. And it's estimated that Hillsdale's housing stock, almost 58% of it was built pre-1960, which means we have pretty old housing stock, and it's been very slow on the uptake to get things built new. In fact, the city's master plan, authored by the Planning Commission, states the city needs new residential developments of all types. So it's not one of those things where typically you want to pick and choose. If you got something that's nice and fits your criteria, you want to look at all types of housing. When they deem it workforce housing, actually the income limits of this go up pretty substantial. Some over $100,000 in income they can make, depending on their family size. So this, in comparison to tax credit projects, which typically you have lower income restrictions there. So this actually opens it up to a wider range. That being said, as I said, the Planning Commission says we need all kinds of residential development, and we've taken advantage of this and incentivized it through a number of NEZs. So Three Meadows has an NEZ, College Park has an NEZ, which is right there at the college. Mr. Broadbeck's house is in that area, and there are a number of others. Center City Apartments, the Commons, we've done 2 phases there, and those are over $300,000, around $300,000 each, in halves of duplexes. So what we're seeing here is the market is pretty much taking care of the market rate or the higher end stuff, but with the restriction on our actual contractors, there's more revenue to be made by taking the higher end stuff with the same restriction or with no restrictions than stuff for workforce housing. So that being said, this is how we get a different level of housing financially into the community, is through these type of programs. I think, as Sam mentioned, the 6197 in pilot, it actually breaks down to about $1,000, $1,032 per unit. With our NEZs, on that same price of housing, we actually bring in about $750. So we're actually getting more through the pilot program than we are the program that we previously had, or that we have to work with, the neighborhood enterprise zones.
So we're getting more, we would be getting more on these duplexes than those mansions up on North Main Street.
For houses of similar value to
Yes.
these.
Right. So yes.
They're all based on value, so.
Correct.
Okay.
So with the pilot, we actually get more revenue than we do the NEZs to the city. And I think it's also important to mention, Kim ran a report for me here earlier, that of the last 30 homes sold in the city, 7 of those 30 were duplex style. So
Those were the top 30 sales from 2022 and 2023. 7 of them were duplex style, either at Hillsdale Commons or at Stony Ridge.
So duplexes do tend to have a market in Hillsdale. And ultimately, you look at this from kind of a bigger picture. If someone who's currently in a rental property decides to move up, that opens their rental property up for someone else to come into the community. It's kind of a rolling ball. I talked to 2 of our larger employers in the community, the hospital and the college, and they both will tell you flat out that one of their major issues in recruiting new talent or staff is housing. It will take months for them to find something that's suitable or that they want for their family, and they typically end up renting for a long period of time. So this by no means is a solution for everything, but it's a start. And our hope is that we see these come in, they can get them rented out, and it parlays into the single-family units, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50, that, with pretty nice sized lots in that 21 acres, so.
Thank you, Dave. Any more discussion? Entertain a motion excuse me. Entertain a motion to approve the resolution setting annual service fees for the workforce housing development at 440 and 450 Hidden Meadows Drive, providing Alan Edwin Homes with a 10% workforce housing pilot arrangement for a term of 15 years.
Mayor, real quick, just point of order. Specifically for this resolution, there's a series of questions that are kind of fact-finding questions that have to be asked. They're in the resolution. I think we'll have the city clerk read those, and you guys just have to answer yes or no to those questions, but that has to be a part of this ordinance.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we do this the right way. So.
Yep, been there with zoning board before. So we'll get a motion in a second first, and then we'll go through the questions. Motion on the floor from Councilman Beer, seconded by Councilman Soha. Can you read the questions for us?
Sure. Number one, whether the proposed pilot will increase the number of available workforce housing units within the city, yes or no?
Yes.
Whether the proposed pilot will reduce the functional obsolescence of an existing building or housing units.
You want to explain that what? Definition.
So that's- That question is asking if this specific project is gonna rehab an existing building. No.
Kevin, you might stand there just in case.
Okay. Number three, whether the proposed pilot is likely to encourage expansion of the population of the city. Four, whether the location of the workforce housing is consistent with the goals and objectives of the city's master plan. Five, whether the development or rehabilitation of the workforce housing requires zoning variances or results in the continuation of a non-conforming use. Six, whether the proposed pilot will result in the provision or housing amenities.
Result in provision of housing amenities, yes.
Seven, whether the proposed pilot will facilitate provisions of attractive, viable housing units. All right.
Okay, motion on the floor from Councilman Veer, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Can I have a roll call vote, City Clerk?
Councilperson Sharp,
Yes.
Soha,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Veer,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Stockford,
Yes.
Councilperson Morrissey,
Yes.
Palladino,
No.
and Pratt.
Yes.
It's 8-1 approved, resolution 3579, excuse me.
Thank you, Katie. All right, we will move into the last item in new business, which is 2024 council meeting dates. As you guys see, there's only one meeting in January, which is the 16th, and which is typical for January. You see all the other dates in there, the couple Tuesday dates, and any discussion on these? This is pretty straightforward. Also, while we're on this, I would encourage you guys to think if we want to change any of our goals for this upcoming year. This last year, we kept the same goals as the year before. If you guys think about that and you want to change some council goals, shoot me an email and copy council and we can reevaluate our goals. Any questions regarding the meeting dates? They look good? Entertain a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilwoman Pratt. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we've got meeting dates for 2024. Congratulations. We'll move into miscellaneous reports. We've got a few appointments to the Airport Advisory Committee. We've got Mr. Tom Symes, I think is how you say that. To the planning commission, we've got Matt Niffen. Matt is on the ZBA already, and he will, take Penny Swan's place as the as the planning representative on ZBA. And then we've got Jacob Bruns. Jacob was on the airport, committee, and he did a good job on that committee, and he'd like to get more involved, so he wants to move over to planning. And then, what's that? Huh?
Jacob Bruce?
Yeah,
Jacob wants to be on planning. He was on the airport advisory committee. And
It says zoning.
That was the previous.
that's just because that's the first time he filled out an application, he wants to put zoning board on there. So these are, if somebody submits an application and we've got it on file, I would usually make them resubmit a new application if they want to do a different board. So, yeah, sorry about that. My bad. And then, well, we'll do the appointments. No, we can do all of them at the same time if you guys want. And then a reappointment to the Airport Advisory Committee, Mr. Hamilton, David Hamilton, who's done a good job as well. So I encourage approval of all these. Any questions? Entertain a motion to appoint all of these gentlemen.
Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Veer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Alrighty. We'll move into general public comment. During this time, the podium will be open. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please limit your trips to one to the podium, and you can speak on anything your heart so desires at this time. Podium's now open. Well, darn it, Commissioner, I thought we were gonna get through the whole meeting without a single public comment.
I couldn't resist. Doug Eagles, County Commissioner. Just wanted to update and point out that the Copper Dome has been completed at the historic courthouse. The scaffolding will be coming down. They're continuing with masonry and cement work as they move around the building. And but when the sun hits that copper, it's quite a sight to see. So that would be my comment. If I have any questions, I'm happy to answer questions. Yes, sir.
How long before it turns green again?
I hear 5 years, I don't know.
Okay, I'm just curious.
It's not been sealed. The reason it's not been sealed is how do you get up there when you need to seal it again? And it's been said that part of the quality of copper is the patina that it develops, and so that's the green. So.
Any more questions for Doug?
Yeah.
It's public comment period. Go ahead, Bruce.
What are we at cost-wise so far?
We're about 10.8 million.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
I have another statement.
Oh.
No, that's.
You got 2 minutes left, so.
Okay, thanks. I've been part of the budget process, which has been quite incredible. I was vice chair of budget this year, and at our next meeting, we will have presented a balanced budget. So in spite of some of the expenses that we do have, we're able to afford them, and we are able to pay for them as we go, so. Can I have a motion? Sure.
Sure.
Courthouse Annex, how are we doing on that?
And the building has been sold. We are still in committee trying to finalize where we think the district court will go. We do not have any answers, and if someone tells you they know, tell them that they do not know, because I'm the chairman of that committee, and I do not know.
That's why I asked you.
Yes. We've got some options. We do have plans. There's a lot of swirl, and pieces have to start coming together before we can really answer that question directly.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Are we good?
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. I think in the future what we'll do is we're just gonna add a commissioner update and communications petitions moving forward. If Doug doesn't have anything to update, or if he's not here, then it'll be on there and we'll say, commissioner's not here, or there's no updates, but we gotta be careful when we're doing public comment because we don't allow council to go back and forth with, and it's educational, we wanna know what's going on with the commission, so we appreciate it. But just for decorum purposes, I think That's how we'll do
That
this.
gets me at the beginning of the meeting too,
That's right.
instead of the end, and I like that.
Exactly. Podium's still open.
Thank you. Robert Eigler, Smithfield Township. My only, some of the questioning that was done on which you guys based on how much you're gonna have in new residents. Based on some of the things that's been said about the economy and such, as has been about 2.25% to 4%. Then you could go that statewide, you could go nationwide. Very little is gonna be concerning in this next 3 or 4 years, and I don't see it in the growth. Some of the things, you see some of the bigger businesses lack to have any more people. It has diminished somewhat up in Jackson as well. Other than that, my greatest concern right now is I'm trying to get you folks as council members. We have this upcoming year, this election time, and we also have these absentee ballots. These absentee ballots are not reassuring whatsoever. You can look at them. I've gone through it, rewritten and rewritten a person's name to see if anything that I could get close to. The absentee ballots are wrong. The only thing we can do and try to ensure for the future is I would like to ask each one of you, as well as those that are watching on your camera, to please take a child, your son or daughter, your grandchildren. It will not be seen in 2027 in the futuristic of they want your thumbprint or possibly eye retina with your own phone sitting at home to make a vote. I want it to be changed so that we will follow the tradition that we've always had. A paper ballot, well, the machines are junk as far as I'm concerned. But I wish for all of you, for the future, to see what we can't do to impress our kids, that they will remember what it means to come in and stand to make a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any more public comment? All right, we'll close the podium. Moving to the city manager's report. Dave.
Mayor, I really don't have much for a report tonight. Just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Very good, like that. Council comment? Oh, do you have a question for Dave?
Yeah, what's going on with the Myers? I understood you guys posted something about you had a meeting with them?
Well,
I did, and I'm sure Dave has been. And
yeah, the city administration has and the mayor has, and I think what the mayor posted is accurate, that their plans are to open next spring.
Start hiring for the positions in March and open in May is what they told me. Everything's on point for that, so.
Well, it's definitely looking good over there. The landscape and everything they're doing, it's a jewel. It looks really nice. And I've talked to a couple other Myers stores about the Hillsdale Myers, and they say it's going to be a showcase Myers this time. They really want to make it stand out compared to the other ones. So we're going to be very lucky to have it. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. Councilman Stuchel?
Yes, first of all, I just want to thank our city manager and all his department heads for an excellent audit. That takes a lot of work, and the city's in great shape, and thank you for that. And just a reminder before our next council meeting, on the December 3rd will be the luminary walk. And it's going to light up everything from the college to the hospital and plus other neighborhoods, but that's the main route. And they're going to light those up at 5 o'clock. And so just get out and bring people down, because it's our first year of doing this, so.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it'll be pretty cool. It's on a Sunday, so.
Yep. And if you want to participate, you can get the supplies at Gelsler's.
Gelsler's has all the supplies, and for $20 you can get like, what did she say, 50 bags or something like that? Quite a few,
Yeah.
quite a few.
Yeah.
So it should be a pretty thing to see.
I'm really excited about
Yeah,
it. I
there's
think it's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, there'll be choir singing at 7, all that good stuff, so we connect our two anchors of our community with this luminary walk.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilman Stuchel. Councilman Sharp.
Jace, I want to thank you for the leaf pickup you guys are doing. It's looking wonderful. I mean, you guys are right on it. It took a little while, but I appreciate what you're doing out there. It looks good. Thank you.
I would concur with Bruce. You guys are doing a great job, and it looks like you worked all the kinks out of it for the most part. So, very good. Good stuff. Anybody else? Councilman Palladino?
I had more I wanted to say about the resolution before we voted on that, so I'll spare you all since I know it wasn't a close vote. But $2,500 a month, we're talking $30,000 a year. The median income in the city is $44,000. That would put it at about 75% of your annual income to live here if you are the median person. This means you need to be about a top 80% or the top 20% of income earners in the city for this to be a viable housing option for you. Once again, I believe this is a corporate giveaway to the highest income earners in the city. This will not be a viable housing option for any of our median income earners. As a matter of principle, I don't think the council should ever give tax breaks to rentals. There are two ways to lower the cost and the pressure on the rental market. Those are to build more rentals and to build more single-family homes. If you build more single-family homes, people leave their rentals, purchase homes outright, and it reduces the pressure on the rental system. That is what we should be doing. We'll see if that's what happens with their next development project. And then just as far as the beauty question, definitely be a no on number 7. There's really no way for a duplex with attached garages to be attractive with the historical character of our city. You don't see any of the homes built before 1960s in this way. And we say that we have to have a range of housing options, but that was not, maybe we have a new country, but that was not the earlier America. The earlier America was we want everybody in a single detached home. Right? Fine, prior to the 1950s or 60s, we didn't have many large-scale housing complexes, and I don't think it fits the historical quality of the city. I had a lot more. Maybe I'll have Katie put it in the minutes, but I will leave it there to spare you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. I agree with you. I don't think it's gonna do much to increase housing in the city of Hillsdale. But it's really not in the city, it's not in our neighborhoods. It's out here on the outskirts of the city. And the other thing I would say is, I really agree with Bruce and Tony that it's just been sitting. Twin Meadows has just been a failure, and it's just been sitting there forever. And I don't really care too much what goes out there at this point. It's just a glaring failure, and it's nice to have anything be built on it. But you're right. With the prices of rent, we're pushing people out of the city. We're not going to grow from this, and from what I'm seeing is people are looking to get out of the city because rent's a little bit cheaper in the townships, but it's probably too complicated of a problem for us to solve up here.
One other thing, Three Meadows is in my ward. It's another one of my headaches, and it's been a headache for a long time, but it's something. At least we're trying to do something this time. If we're wrong, we're wrong. Just like the Kiefer House. If it goes through and everything goes well with it, somebody's gonna eat crow, while the rest of us that voted for it are gonna look good. But we'll see. In time we will know. Other than that, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Any more discussion? Entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion on the floor from Councilman Soha, seconded by Councilman Beer. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. This meeting is adjourned.